Girl, why I forgot the song? Wait, damn it. What did I was about
It's not the BAQA.
No, that's BAQA. Wait, what do I be saying?
Hey, hey,
Oh, yeah, that's
hey.
it. Okay. Sorry, Monty. Okay. Hey, hey, hey. We're back. We're black. We're brown. We're extra brown today. Ambition, ambition,
Ambition,
ambition,
ambition,
ambition,
ambition,
ambition. When I tell you we are
ambition.
so brown, we are so black today, we blue black because we have somebody amazing in the stew today. But before we start, okay, curls popping, Mandy. You know I love when you put your hair in
Okay,
a pineapple.
ponytail.
Mandy, did you dye your hair?
No,
Oh.
but do you not see what I'm sending you? I sent you a picture, but I feel like I need to do the fixer upper for the BA fam. This is what it's going to look like. I'm going to look like I'm Miss Rachel's number 2, because if you don't know Miss Rachel, then just forget that joke ever happened. But and our guest Brandice, you'll also see, I just made over my son's playroom. I made over my office. I fired myself is what it felt like I was doing. The way that I packed up my boxes and shoved them to the side of everything I had, like in my little space. And I just devoted this to my 4-year-old for his birthday. And honestly, it's kind of my aesthetic. Like I was like, I'm gonna wear pink, so I kind of fit in with the
planets in the background.
I'm not mad at it.
It is preschool teacher approved. It's so cute and colorful. I saw how Rhea was navigating. Everything is child friendly. So well done.
I was so excited. Yeah. And my wild and crazy idea, now they go on my Trello board. I don't have to do every single one that floats into my head. Good. But this was the big one that I really wanted to achieve. It's done now. And we can move on.
It looks great. Well, we have, she's a mom as well. Hers is not as little as yours, but I have a guest in the stew today. Her name is Brandice Daniel. She has over 15 years of experience forging brand partnerships with Fortune 500 companies. Well, you might know Brandice best as the founder of HFR, Harlem Fashion Row. If you are a brown person who loves fashion and you don't know Brandice, do you live under a rock? Is it a rock? So Brandice is amazing then. So there is like before Harlem Fashion Row and after Harlem Fashion Row when it comes to Black designers getting their credit and having access. And Brandice started Harlem Fashion Row to showcase the fact that there are people who look like us that are amazing, exquisite, talented designers that if only given a little spotlight could shine as well. And so she made it her business to do so. So she not only has this, Brandice also is a friend of mine. How long has it been, Brandice?
Oh my goodness, girl. I don't know. Maybe, oh, you know what? I do know. 2018.
Okay.
2018 is when we had our very first conversation that changed my life.
Oh. So Brandice is also a friend of mine, and one of our favorite things to do is to walk and talk about business. And so, because, I have people in my life that, these are, friends that, we might talk about, they call me to ask me about, they have kids who are preschool age. I have my sisters, and then I have friends who are friends in general, but also own businesses. So you have these really interesting conversations about what's working, what's not working. But what I love about my conversations with Brandice is that they are holistic conversations. So they're not just, what's your return on investment? It's, if I do this project, will I have enough time for family and friends? Is the juice really worth the squeeze if I navigate in this way? How do I really want to show up for the people that I work for? And so Brandice is amazing at that. So she's really good at business, but also really good at showcasing Black and brown designers. And she is the CEO of 2 companies, right? So it's Harlem Fashion Row and then Icon 360, which is a 50c3 nonprofit organization. And so, but one of the things that Brandice is really good at, aside from showcasing Black and brown designers, and she has a new book that came out recently, Fashion in Color. If you are watching on IG, not IG, but on YouTube, you should look how beautiful this is. First of all,
that's stunning.
Not even just stunning. This is the box. You know a book is fancy when it comes to the box, right? Look, this is one of the box. Right? Look, it comes out of a box. And then what I love about it is that inside the book, she's got these amazing designers, and she has them illustrated, right? Beautifully so. And then you get to see their work inside the book. And it's like
Read me a
literally,
story, teacher Tiff.
right? I know that's what I feel like. I'm like, it's literally, and this is volume 1, right? So it's in alphabetical order, Brandice, right?
Yes. Yep.
So
A to
like,
Z.
so look, D for Dapper Dan, right? If you don't know Dapper Dan, child, you ain't from the East Coast, right? Dapper Dan is the one who used to take all the Gucci material and make all these things that were not, like he made Gucci fly. Okay, let's just say that.
Yeah, Gucci
He's
sanction.
amazing, right? But there's designers that you might not have ever heard of.
So it's
Like
a book
Nicole
of
Benfield.
designers.
Yes.
I'm wearing Nicole Benefield now. So this is actually our collaboration that we just did with Abercrombie and Fitch.
So Brandice really, so I'll give you some examples.
Wow,
She
okay.
when LeBron James came out with sneakers for women, right? And he was like, I want a Black woman designer. Who do you think they reached out to? Brandice. And so it was Kimberly. Who made the sneakers, Brandice? Who was that?
It was Kimberly Golson, Fee Noel, and Andra Duncan.
Mm-hmm. And so when people,
and the sneakers sold out quickly.
The sneakers sold out, right? So when brands are like, hey, I want to do a thing, but I especially want to showcase Black designers and brown designers, they come to, she's the only game in town. They come to Brandice, right? She be meeting with Anna Wintour. My friend is fancy, y'all. Like, one time Tracy was like, isn't it crazy that Brandice is like your friend? I'm like, I'm a big deal too. Don't blame me.
That's what you get for hiring your sister as your publicist.
Just honestly just has an amazing track record. And Brandice is one of, and Brandice, and Mandy, you will really appreciate this. She is one of the best executors that I have ever met. Because Mandy is an amazing executor as well. You give Mandy like two things. Yes, Mandy, you be like,
not like Game of Thrones execution, but like project.
No, you be like, Mandy, blue, green, dog. She's like, got it. Like, look what's behind her. She's like, Mandy is an executor. And so I'm not so much, but so I love that I get to be bookended by two amazing executors. So I just want to welcome Brandice to the podcast, and we're just so happy to have you here and honored to have you here.
So first of all, I'm just going to take you wherever I go to do my introductions. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Tiffany. I feel like I'm in like the Brown Ambition living room right now. So thank you guys for welcoming me into your home.
No, we hope it's nice and cozy, and you already feel like fam. I can almost smell what your apartment or your home probably smells like right now. I know it's scented. I know it's something seasonal. I know you get the really luxury candles that, that people are into. I just know it smells good there. And anyway, but you still, okay. It's really nice to meet you, Joe. I am less familiar with Harlem Fashion Row. I kind of want to start from the beginning of how did you create Harlem Fashion Row, and then talk about what it actually is. I know it as, if I want to find out, about multicultural Black designers, brown designers, I can find like your book, for example, but the business of it, I'm fascinated by how that's been going. So you go.
You know what's funny, Mandy? When I first started HFR, I had no idea I was starting a business. No idea. So the idea was I want to do a fashion show in Harlem. That was it. So me and my friends were throwing events in Harlem. We were doing Harlem brunches. We used to host something called the Hottest Harlem House Party. And so we were doing events. And so I was like, you know what? I haven't seen like a really dope fashion event in Harlem. And that was where it started. And then as I started working on this idea, I started to think like, okay, this is something bigger. I don't know what it is. As a matter of fact, I still have my journal from the year I started, which was 2007. I got the original journal downstairs. And in that journal, there were several times where I wrote, this is so much bigger than me. I don't know what this is. It's so much bigger than me. And the second year we did the fashion show, I started looking for Black designers. Couldn't find them, started going down department store websites because, of course, they would be in our favorite department stores, right? Wrong.
Yeah.
Going down the list of designers and realized that less than 1% of the designers that were on these major department stores where I shop, my mom shop, my sister shop, were Black designers. And then I went and I was like, okay, let me go do some research. The only place I knew to go was the U.S. Census. And I was like, how much are we spending a year on apparel? Because maybe we're not spending what I think we are. In 2007, we were spending $22 billion a year. So I'm like, wait a minute. We're spending $22 billion a year as people of color. However, we represent less than 1% of the designers that are sold in major department stores. And, I feel like sometimes your passion is in that place where you're so irritated that you're just like, I gotta do this. Is just stupid. I'm trying to think of another word for the brand ambition, but it was like, this is insane. What do you mean we're less than 1%, but we're spending all this money? And for me, that was really the catalyst to, I don't know what this is going to be, but I know I have to do something. I have to be a part of the solution. And that was really kind of the launch pad for Harlem's Fashion Row. I didn't realize it was going to be a business until years later when I had a coach who said, please don't start a nonprofit. We have enough nonprofits that are broke. We need more successful businesses. He said, once your business becomes successful, then you start a nonprofit. So that was really how the business was born.
I love that piece of advice too. It almost feels like if a woman comes up with the idea, people's initial thought is it could be a nonprofit because it's usually something that is servicing or it has that element of it's good for us, not just me, like you said. And people want to slap a nonprofit label on it and be like, okay, go beg for money now. Okay. So talk about how did you didn't know it was a business. Clearly you had some coaching. We love that. So talk about that transition from idea to it's happening to, okay, let's turn a profit.
It took my road was longer than most, Mandy. I like don't even like to say this out loud, but I think it's really important that I'm honest. It took us until about year 10 for me to actually realize like, okay, this is a business and I have to like really treat it as such. We were having brand partnerships, but at the time, again, my mindset wasn't around profitability. My mindset was very much, I just want to cover my cost. That was my goal. And I used to actually say that out loud. Like, I just want to cover my costs. If I cover my costs, I'm good. Now, don't ask me how I'm good if I cover my costs because I didn't have
what were you doing also on top of this?
I had a 9 to 5. Right. I had a 9 to 5 for the first 5 years. But after that, I was really struggling. And me being in this mindset of I just want to cover my costs was really putting my family at risk. It was putting me at risk. It was causing tension in my marriage. It was just really, really tough. 2019 was a really hard year for us. And going into 2020, I said to my assistant, we're going to close $1 million in business for 2020. And the reason I said earlier that like my talks with Tiffany really changed my mindset and changed my life is because she made me start looking at millions as if they were thousands. And so I actually started to think, oh, this is possible for me. And that year, 2020 ended up being our best year because we went so hard with brand partnerships at the end of 2019 to set us up for 2020. And thank God we did.
Yeah.
Because who knew that the pandemic was coming? But when the pandemic came, I was sitting with, we didn't make that goal. I think we got like to 750,000, but I didn't make $1 million, but I was sitting with $750,000 of contracts in my hand, which was a game changer for us.
And what do you do with those contracts? Like, what is it? What's the business arm of HFR?
So the business arm of HFR, we really act as an agency, almost like a bridge where we're connecting designers of color with brands. And so we do that through events. And that model is brands actually sponsor our events. So that's the revenue model for that. We do that through collaborations, which I'm wearing the Nicole Benefield Abercrombie & Fitch. So if you go to Abercrombie & Fitch's website right now and type in Harlem's Fashion Row, you'll see the products there. If you go to American Doll, American Girl, I think we're still in there and type in Harlem's Fashion Row, you'll see outfits there. So I know. So we do. Are
you guys the reason that Target does those things now with designers, like capsule collections? Is that what they're called?
They do capsule collections. I can't take that credit. Because they've been doing that for a long time, way before us.
I thought that was like post 2020, or maybe it just came to my attention after 2020. But
I think you started seeing more Black designers, Mandy.
Yeah.
They've been doing them for a long time. But I
remember Issey Miyake was the first. Isaac Mizrahi was the first one. I remember because it was a big deal because he was this big time designer, and people were like, "Why would you be in Target?" Because I have still some of the dresses from that collection.
Yeah.
Now I remember. Yes, but they
mhm.
switched to. Okay, that's right. Because I'm
Yes.
like,
So
they did some
Started
now,
great
doing
stuff. Now they got
they
Tab
started having more
Brown.
Black designers. It was
yes,
Christopher John Rogers, then it was I think
yes.
Sergio Hudson, and then it was Fee Noel. So we
Mm.
do collaborations, events, and then we do pipeline programs with HBCUs where we pair brands up with HBCU fashion departments. So we've got 6 of those going right now with
Oh
Tiffany and
wow.
Co, Levi's, Coach, American Eagle, Saks Fifth Avenue just did one. And I feel like there's one more
You're
that I'm
basically
missing.
the fashion industry's black friend, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yes, yes.
We're
I love
the
that.
connector. We're the connector, Mandy.
Because I do have a black friend. I do.
I was just listening, and God bless you, because they're all like, "Whew, I know Brandice's name."
I know it's like, we can ask
And
Brandice. We need to brown up the joint.
they're
But I
sweating
And
when
let
love
they
me
text
tell
you
you,
too. Please come through for
I
me so
get
I
those
can
kind
look
of
real
emails
cool.
too.
I
No,
was
but we
just
love that.
listening. Oh, sorry, Tiff. Go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just listening to Leslie Jones's audiobook in the car. I just started it, and the foreword is by Chris Rock. Leslie Jones is from SNL. She's a huge comic, and he was that for the comedy industry. He's like, when Lorne Michaels wanted to know who's black, female, and funny, he texted me because of the backlash against SNL. So that's immediately what I thought of when just you were describing the mission and the work that you're doing. It's so necessary. I don't mean to trivialize it at all because
No,
it's so
yeah.
crucial, but you found this great gap in the marketplace. Fashion
Yeah.
industry literally needed a black friend.
Yeah.
And here you are.
So is that how you
I've
got to
never
the
been
book?
categorized like that. And I'm like, that's
It's
sweet. I
okay.
love that, man.
Is that how you got to the book, right? Like so you are this connector, right, of the main fashion industry and black brands, right? So is that like, how did the book come about? Because that's something that seems totally different than what you were doing before.
Yeah. So one of the things that I thought was really important is for us to like preserve our history in fashion. I've always felt like, man, we need to tell our stories. We need to make sure that there is something that's left behind for like the next generation. So when I say around year 2 of HFR was when I started really digging into, okay, not okay, this is an issue, we're less than 1%. I'm like, why? Like what happened? Like, were there no black designers in the 70s and the 60s and the 50s? Like what's going on? And I started buying all of these books. I discovered this woman, Lois Alexander Lane, who created the Black Fashion Museum and the Harlem Institute of Fashion. She wrote the only book that basically chronicles and provides information on black designers. That was written in 1982. There had not been a book written since then that specifically highlights black designers, not one. And I kept kind of waiting, like, oh, somebody's going to come out with that. Somebody's going to come and it just never happened. And then I was the somebody. And then the thing that really, I think, lit my fire was I walked into a bookstore over by my offices, and I'm looking at this bookstore, and I'm like so excited because I see this book called Fashion Legends. So I pull it off the bookshelf, and I'm so excited, and I'm going through, and it's A to Z, and there's one black designer in there. And I was just, I mean, y'all, the way that made me so angry, Olivier Rusting, the creative director of Balmain, who wrote the foreword for this book. And
so incredible.
I know, isn't that amazing? And so he was the only one in the book. And it made me so angry. I put it up at the top of my desk, and I was like, I'm just going to keep this right here so that every morning I come in, I'm going to be angry enough to go, I got to do something about this. And so that's really how the book came about. It's kind of like the next phase for us as media. So we just launched a Fashion and Color show, a podcast, and a YouTube show. And now we've got the book, the Fashion and Color book. And so really it's like, now how do I've worked so closely with the industry and brands and designers. Now I'm like, I really want to meet the people now. Like I want to actually go to the people. And so that's where we're at now. That's what the book is all
I'm going to
about.
pause for a moment because Brandice does what so many Black and brown women do. They drop that heat like everybody just be doing it. They don't. So one, look at this book. I told you the book comes with its own case. Okay.
It's stunning.
It's amazing. And that fact is that Brandice doesn't have just some little podcast or show. No. Go follow Brandice. What's your IG?
Brandice Daniel.
If you just go and see
Daniel
this show
or at Harlem Fashion Row.
If you see this quote unquote, it's just a little show. It ain't no little show. First of all, Brandice shows up wearing a Black designer in every show. The set looks like, okay, Oprah, we see you. Not Oprah, the 80s Oprah. I'm talking about Oprah, like last year, best set ever Oprah. And then she's interviewing these amazing designers that you're like, how does she get this and that? Didn't he? Yes, and yes. So the fact that she's like, oh, something light, that's a something light for Brandice. So I have a nonprofit. Oh, and then I introduced the world to Black designers. Oh, and just some Harlem Fashion. Oh, and no, this is what I mean, that she is the master executor. That, you know, there are some people, and I tell this to you all the time, Mandy, right? That, you know, once you decide you're going to do a thing, I can leave because you're going to get it done. That is just your personality. That like, once you've decided on a thing, you're going to get it done. Really, the struggle I find with both of you is you don't actually have to do all the things. You could leave some for the other girls.
Yeah. and I will add to that because I love criticizing myself. But I'll speak for myself. Also, sometimes you're so busy doing the thing that you forget to zoom out and strategize about how to monetize or like what to create and that kind of thing.
Congratulate yourself. Like what you've done is amazing. Like for real, like zoom out to be like, look what I did. This thing in my head. I saw a book, said, hey, this doesn't look right. I realized that the last book was in the 80s. And now you didn't just like, this is not some slap together. This book is literally Brandice, like every single picture is illustrated beautifully so, And I remember you were like, you delayed it coming out because you're like, that ain't right. Do it better. Make it better. Like, so she's making it sound like, Instagram University, how they be like, here, takes this dollar and make it $1 million. Now, it was so much work. And you can see the fruit of her labor in the work of how beautiful this book is, how intentional she is about including designers, that maybe some that very well, some that you might have never heard about. She is keeping the history of this part of Blackness. Like, when Brandice, you're no longer here, this will stand the test of time. When people say, who were the designers in this time? It's because of you that we're going to be able to say, oh, not only do I get to read it in the book, I get to watch it on the show. So,
first of all, Tiffany, all right, fine. I'm going to stop.
Be careful now. She'll have you believing in yourself.
I know. I'm like, it's so hard because you're just in it and you're doing it. And even listening to you, I like felt myself get emotional just listening to you because I'm just doing the stuff that I feel like needs to be out in the world. And when I think about Black designers, we work with Black and Latinx designers, but when I think about them, I feel like they should be framed a certain way. And so even, when we came up with the first book, which I have with me, I'll show it to you real quick. When we did the first book, it was nice. And I was like, this is okay. But I was like, this isn't it. I can't put this out in the world because every time we put something out in the world that frames designers of color is not about HFR, right? It's so the frame has to be right. And so in this new one, we actually found an artist. She used to volunteer with HFR back in the day. Her name is Ashley Buttercup. And these are actually original paintings that were scanned into the book. So we have an original painting for every last one of these. Like I say to people all the time, like, get the book, get 2, cut out the pictures and frame them. Like
It's a print.
Beautiful artwork. It's beautiful
I think I hear an
artwork.
additional product you can add to the website wherever these are
Yes.
sold. Just want the prints? Here you go. Also, an incredible contract for Ashley. Also, what a delicious name. Like, I just want to save that for when I write a novel.
I know, Ashley
Buttercup.
Buttercup.
She just like punch her eyes and I don't know. Buttercup.
She is actually. All the prank guys.
But to give her that opportunity as well is just so in line with the work that you're doing. That's amazing.
Now, it was dope. So since she did this book, she's actually been commissioned by the Renaissance Hotel in Harlem to do paintings for them because they saw the book at the fashion show.
Look at that.
And so, I love it when just like,
Black women make everything better. Just say that. Black women make everything better.
Let me tell you.
We add seasoning and it's like Troy from Earn Your Leisure always says sauce sold separately. Like, yes. We bring that sauce. And so like the fact that you had pictures commissioned, like that is another level of excellence. People don't go that extra mile, but that's why you're here. For some of you might be listening and saying, why hasn't something XYZ happened for me? Sometimes it's not just the work, it's the extra mile. Like for Brandice to have there are all of these paintings in here. You could have easily been like, we're not doing all that. That's too much work. To have someone paint each designer. And I know because you told me that you would not put the painting in the book unless the designer said, I like it.
No, they all had to sign off. I have a signature for every designer had to sign off, including Olivier from Balmain had to say this is approved.
So imagine all these creatives and how long that must have taken. That extra mile is why where you are. And that's why this book is so beautiful. Literally, it's on my coffee table. I had to run down and come back up because I keep it on my coffee table because it's really this book that I want when people come in. They're like, oh, what's this? I'm like, it's my friend.
I love it.
I remember when Christian Siriano, his book launched. Are you going to be in that fancy store in Flatiron? Do you know what I'm talking in the Flatiron district?
I know exactly which store you're talking about. Is it Rizzoli's? I think.
Yeah. Yes, I just Googled it, but I'm not going to pretend like I knew it before I Googled it. Yes, Rizzoli's. I'm like, you always walk by it and it's stunning.
Well, Rizzoli's actually produced the book, and since we produced this one ourselves, we'll see.
I want to hear about that. Talk about.
She was in the front of Macy's. Okay, the flagship store in New York. I don't know if it was the week that it came out, right, Brandice?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Brandice had an event, and we all came by, and she was like, "Let's walk around the corner to the flagship Macy's." Flagship meaning like the first, the most
Thanksgiving
prestigious
parade one.
I mean, it was not only the book; it was they had these huge screens of the inside of the book. I mean, how are you in the front of Macy's? Like that's what I'm just saying. Brandice all here, like just something like it's nothing light. It's heavy over here.
You know what's crazy about that? So once I said we weren't going to do the first book, Macy's kept reaching out to us to tell us that they really wanted to feature HFR in their windows for Black History Month. Mm-hmm. I kept telling my team, we don't have anything. Like, tell Macy's we have nothing, right? Which is crazy. But I'm like, if I'm going to be in the windows of Macy's, it needs to be significant. I'm not just going to put anything in there. And then my team kept meeting with Macy's, and I kept saying, what are you guys talking about when you meet? Because we don't have anything. And finally, somebody from my team was like, what about the book? I was like, there's no way that book is going to be ready in time for Black History Month. A week go by, and everything on my spirit is like, Brandice, do it. It's going to be crazy. Just do it. And so we did it, and it was crazy. And I worked over all the holidays. We had a conference call on Christmas Eve. It was bananas and nuts, and Ashley had to paint her little heart out.
But what's the timeline? What was the timeline?
It was like 6 weeks for us to get basically all of this, for us to redo this book and do the new one. Ashley had to crank out like 1 to 2 paintings a day, which she said she's never done in her life. She was like, I was like, how did you do this? And she said, Brandice, I don't know. Something came over me. And the funny thing is, as our team was working on it, like, I cannot explain it. It was like we were in this army marching towards the same goal. There was no bickering, no hostility. It was, I don't know. It was just something bigger than us. And sometimes, that happens when you're working on something that's bigger than you. I don't know. I feel like you start to get like this drive, and there are going to be moments where you're like, oh my gosh, should I be doing this? I don't even know if we can find a printer to print the book. But I just feel like, I feel like that's how HFR started. I didn't know what I was doing. That was how our brand partnership started. I didn't know how to do brand partnerships. And our first partner was Target. And so it's like, sometimes you just have to, I say cliff jump. Sometimes you just have to go, and you really have to have faith that if I put forth the work on my end, that is all going to work out.
So you produced it yourself. So
Yes.
First you created this book. How much did you sink into that book and then say, okay, we're going to keep working on this? And then when you got the Macy's deal, like you literally were printing your own book, like doing all the work of a publisher?
All the work of a publisher.
We did work. And this isn't like self-publishing on Amazon. This is like, no, you're creating a bespoke coffee table.
We had to call 100 printers in order to find one that could print, because the top of it is metallic. It was a certain quality that we wanted. So there's like a finish on here that feels almost like a satin. There's so many different things that we wanted that it was hard to find. People would go, we can do it, but we can't do the metallic. We can do this, but we can't do that. And so, we had to find all the things. And we work with Mind Matters, which is a small Black-owned publishing company too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so where does this be? We lifting. I just love that like, your determination to lift as you climb. Like, because it could be easy to be like, well, we'll just do this. It's like, no, where we can find, there has to be someone of color that can do this thing. Like, I can't say this is the mission and then abandon the mission. That's huge. Like, look what you've done for Ashley as a result. This exposure. And so I just love that. So where, I know you and I are always talking about, like, the direction of like where you want to go into. And so where do you see? So, you have Harlem Fashion Row, you have your nonprofit, I know for a fact that you've been teaching people how to get their own sponsorships. You've taught a class to my company. Brandice came in and did a lesson about like how to like about, because we want to do more, we want to align ourselves with the brands that we like even more. And so, like, what's next? So you have this book that people can purchase, like, where, and I also know that you have it's at hfr.co, where if you're looking for a Black designer.
Yeah, we have HFR and Co. And then I just released this book to help people who want to do brand partnerships. So it's small business, big partnerships. And where I see myself personally going is doing more coaching, doing more teaching. The number one question I get is, how do you get big brands to partner with you? Like, hands down, no matter what I'm doing, people want to know, what does that look like and how does that work? And so that is really what I'm diving into personally. HFR is going into the media space. So we talked about the show, but I want to teach more. I have not really leaned into, I'm very inspirational on Instagram. So you follow me, there's like, tons of inspiration, but I really want to lean into the teacher in me. I want to lean into the person who can really help people, work through some of these ideas that they have, and how do they bring them to light, and then how do they work with really large brands to help them basically amplify their ideas, because there is nothing like partnering. Like, when we partner with Nike and LeBron James, that skyrocketed our business, our reputation, our visibility. That sneaker got, I believe it was 7 billion press impressions. So that means, Nike had really not seen those numbers. They were just like, this is insane.
Wow.
And so when you get those kind of numbers, you get those by working with, or by collaboration and partnerships. And people think that it's harder than what it is. But it really is, having the right deck, understanding your why, being able to communicate your why, understanding what value you can bring to the company, and communicating that well. And it opens so many doors.
How long are we allowed to have this episode go on for? Because
well, don't forget, Mandy, we are going to have, Brandice is actually going to stay for our Friday episode, BAQA. So even as we wrap like know that she's going to stay on and answer some business questions
What about
for our
my
BA Q&A.
questions?
Yes,
Because
aka our
as a
questions.
journalist,
Sorry.
I have been mentally cataloging 17,000 questions to ask you. I haven't asked the simplest one yet. What were you doing before Harlem Fashion Row? What's your background in terms of the skills you were bringing to HFR?
So I was working in apparel production. So everything that it takes, if you look at your back label and you see like it's made in somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
I was the one who was handling that production at the factory for a company that worked with Victoria's Secret. So I didn't work for Victoria's Secret. I worked for the vendor that Victoria's Secret bought from. And I handle all our apparel production out of Indonesia and Sri Lanka.
Okay, so you were in the bones of the fashion industry. Like this is how the sausage is made, sort of on that side.
In the
Okay.
very unglamorous part, Mandy.
I just picture like the factories with the bedazzled push-up bras, just like, and I love that
it's not
too.
Glamorous. It's not glamorous at all.
And Brandice, you're from Memphis, right?
Yep. I'm from Memphis. And so before that, I was working as I was an associate buyer for Catherine's.
Okay. Well, Brandice, you are an inspiration, not just to me and Mandy, but to so many people who are going to listen and think like, wow, like, we are capable of more than sometimes we give ourselves credit for. My final question is like, for those people who are struggling with execution, because to me, that's the thing that I'm always most impressed about when it comes to you, is that, you don't just have an idea. A lot of people are ideas people, but you know how to see something through all the way through to execution. And so like, what are some things that folks who are struggling with execution, what are some ways to start to build that muscle, if they want to start to execute better?
So I would announce like we're having an event this date, and then I would have to then figure out how to do that. But I would basically set a deadline, make the deadline public, and bring in some accountability. If you do that, quite frankly, like you will execute.
Okay. Set a deadline. Okay.
Set a deadline. Make it public. Make your deadline
make it public.
Announce it.
I'm literally taking notes. I'm like, make it public. Because when I say people, I mean me. I'm not the worst executor, but I could be better.
You are an amazing executor.
No, I'm just good at like get my team together to be like, so this is what we gonna do, as in you.
That's part of it. That's part of
it. Okay, set a deadline, make it public.
Make it public.
Yeah, and if the people want to follow you, they want to get your books, where can they do that?
Yeah, if you want to follow me, you can go to at Brandice Daniel. You can go to brandicedaniel.com. That's where you can get my book, Small Business, Big Partnerships, if you're interested in building partnerships with brands. And then if you want the fashion and color book, you can go to harlemsfashionrow.com and you can get the book from there.
Thank you so much, Brandice. Guys, don't forget that if you want some more Brown Ambition with Brandice, she's going to be on with us on Friday. And I know that because we're about to tape it right now. And so you can get some more. We're going to really dive deep into some business questions. So thanks for listening.
I'm excited.
If you thought this episode was awesome, please share it. Okay? Don't be greedy. Share it with somebody. Okay? All right. Bye.